Hello, McFluffy52 here, back with some more Phyrexia All-Will-Be-One action, and today we're revisiting a Clerics deck that I made previously. But we also have one card that you may notice we aren't particularly planning to cast, and that's Atraxa Grand Unifier. Now, what we hope to do is we hope to use Shadow-Rite Priests, pay 5, tap, sacrifice another Cleric, and search your library for black creature card and put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle. So the hope is we'll play Shadow-Rite Priest, we'll be able to sacrifice one of our clerics and sneak out Atraxa. Question is, how well will Atraxa be in this deck when we get her out onto the battlefield? Because we only have a few different card types here with the Kayla's Reconstruction to hopefully help us get a bunch of clerics onto the battlefield. Uh, we also do technically have Artifact with the new Annex Sentry, which is a Phyrexian cleric, which acts like sort of Brutal Cathar, so hopefully this will also improve how the deck functions. Let's go hop into the ranked ladder and see how we can do with this Phyrexia All-Will-Be-One Atraxa Clerics deck. I think it should be a lot of fun. Now, there'll be a full deck tech at the end of the video, so stick around if you're interested in that. And if you enjoy Magic Arena videos, consider subscribing because we try and make a video every single day. Let's see. What is our opponent playing this first game? I do wonder. This is a pretty good start. We got Lunarch Veteran and Elastial Core, which will mean we'll be able to start gaining life pretty fast, and then we can get Anointed Peacekeeper, which if I can click on it, we get to take a peek at their hand and tax one of their spells, or like the abilities of that card, which is nice. So, opponent. I have Urabrask as their avatar. Are they mono red or are they just a fan of Urabrask? That is the question. Blue. Oh wow. The old version of this deck, I've made a Clerics deck before. The old version of this deck has had Unlicensed Hearst in it. I assume because I played against a bunch of mono blue when I originally was making the deck. And but yeah, I removed the Unlicensed Hearst because I figured, hey, we don't need to worry about that. But it looks like our opponent here is playing mono blue, so that would have been very handy to have one or two in our deck. Opponent, are you gonna let us have a take a look? Or are you gonna counter it? I don't look forward to this matchup because they get this massive flyer which can really hurt us, but we can technically get a Jin out of the air with his Annex Sentry, but they're gonna probably hold up protection for it. I'm assuming they're not gonna just like throw him down. I feel like a ton of people forgot about how clerics, they do have this lord here. Other clerics you get +1/+1. It is a bit annoying, but don't know if I don't tell if our opponent will be able to hold up protection while playing out their Jin. They haven't had a lot of card draw to filter out uh, for more protection spells. Do you have another Scatter Ray? Ah, I despise you, haughty Jin. Go ahead, pass the turn. We can search up Atraxa here next turn if our opponent doesn't do anything. Doesn't bounce the Shadow-Rite Priest. I'm having a great day. Do love me some blue. I've never played against mono blue in the past like 2 weeks. I don't think I've played a single game against mono blue, and then our opponent, of course, here is if this is an Essence Scatter, I'm gonna be mad. I don't know why you're playing Scatter Ray over like Essence Scatter, which I think is just hard counters creatures. Auto pay? Yeah, I'm just gonna pay. We're gonna gain a bunch of life. Not gonna bother attacking in here. Opponent hopefully doesn't have another bounce spell, but yeah, opponent, I feel like you need more card draw. Got maybe Maybe they got unlucky, to be fair. Go ahead, sacrifice a Lunarch Veteran to go ahead and get ourselves. Because it says we're allowed to search our library for a black creature. Well, here's one black creature. Pretty nice. And then we can go ahead, grab a sorcery, grab an artifact, grab a creature, and grab a land that can allow us to get things back from our graveyard. That seems like a pretty good, a decent Atraxa. So draw 4 isn't terrible. Draw 4 is definitely not bad. Is Atraxa just too good? Like, we don't even have that many different creature types. Though adding Annex Entry was definitely pretty good with the added creature type. Alright, do you have a counter spell for... Oh my goodness. That's rough. Unfortunately, Atraxa is not a cleric, but it doesn't really matter when we're going to be doing so much damage. And then next turn we can cast a massive Kayla's Reconstruction if we want. And this should be able to allow us to flood the board. Okay, we do it. Mono blue, just counterspell, and then we win. Yeah, we like did a ton of damage there just because we got 2 Shadow-Rite Priests. Atraxa also, like, honestly, I thought Atraxa might not be very good in this deck because we don't have that many different creature types, but better than I thought. Better than I thought. Alright. I wonder if there's... I just realized we have a whole new set that there might be more creature or black creatures that you could sneak out with this cleric. Because currently there's not very many good creatures to sneak out. Well, Atraxa is a new one that um, definitely is pretty good. But play a Scoured Barrens, and then we can play a Luminarch Veteran. Green. Okay, hold on. That is a little strange to see green coming down. This is Simic-Rot Priest. In that case, we might want to be a little bit faster about how we go and do things. Let's play this Evolved Sleeper. Evolved Sleeper is not a cleric, but you can make it become a cleric pretty easily. You just pay 3 mana, or pay 1 mana into it, it becomes a 2/2 cleric. And this is really good against, it's really good against, like, control decks, because you play this early on, and then suddenly you have this creature that you can just dump more value into. Go ahead, play down Shadow-Rite Priest. I forgot it's not going to buff the Evolved Sleeper. I literally just explained it. Evolved Sleeper becomes a cleric, isn't a cleric to start with. Alright, we'll play this, and then we'll pump up the Evolved Sleeper. Hopefully we'll be able to get in for a sizable amount of damage. We're getting lucky here with the double Shadow-Rite Priest. Opponent loses a life, draws a card. Are they playing Path to Peril? They go for the throat on the Evolved Sleeper, which is surprising, kind of. We get another land, which is very good. So we can go ahead and play out... Actually, let's go ahead and kick and get their creature back. Just for the sake of the fact that our opponent's going to have a ton of removal, and this extra creature might be our secret here to keeping up with our opponent. Though we do have Kayla's Reconstruction to flood the board again. Honestly, I wonder if clerics are better than people remember. I mean, any creature type with a lord and like decent creatures, there's a bunch of one-drop clerics, which is really good when you also have like a lord. The thing with like merfolks, which technically have a lord, and elves, which technically have a lord in standard, there's not many good like cheap elves in standard. They're better than like the merfolks right now. I think there's only like 7 merfolks in standard, and there is a merfolk lord in standard, but just we're getting like 2 merfolks, 2 or 3 merfolks in Phyrexia or March of the Machine. I realized I said March of the Machines or March of the Machines. Or I forgot what I said during the actual video where I did like the set review, but I don't think I actually said the quite the right name for the set, which is kind of funny. These are Angel Clerics, which gain us life and draw a card, which is pretty good. Do like that. We've yet to run into an opponent with a sweeper, but we do kind of have that answer to sweepers with our Kayla's Reconstruction. I do remember this deck actually performing quite well. Are they gonna mill us? No. Not exactly a mill deck. Okay, we'll go ahead and draw a card so we have potentially draw into a Lord so we can start punching in more damage. That's a good card to have. Yeah, life gain from the Clerics though is not as good in this current standard because we have Toxic running around and I guess some mill. We did have a pretty good mill deck that we built a while back. Not a huge fan of like thinning out my library here or like drawing cards, but because they're trying to mill us, we kind of play into that plan, but don't have too much of a choice. Gonna cast their life gain and draw a card. That is annoying. Lay down arms. Yikes. Alright. Our third Inspiring Overseer. We'll play out the Evolved Sleeper. We technically have like creatures in our hand. Not really big ones to finish off the battle, but one's gonna Sweeper to populate. I mean, they've drawn a bunch of cards. It wouldn't be too shocking if they had to populate. Ooh, we get to recast it. That's fun. It means we get to draw another card. Try and find a Lord. Lay down arms is very bad, though. Alright, we found a Lord, which is actually quite good. Question is, do we want to just play it out? That is the question. I can play this again by itself. Or I can actually just do this. Pump this. 3/3 with Death Touch. Get in as much damage as possible with on the board. Our opponent is likely to sweeper it, maybe. Our opponent is probably just playing Azorius control and planning to mill us out in like one turn with 2 Jaces. Speaking of Jace, he's only hit artifacts or creatures, so this is a bit of a bad matchup for the Annex Sentry. They have 2 mana to remove something here, which is not good. Go ahead. Actually, we'll play out this maybe. Or yeah, we'll play out this and the Lunarch Veteran. Should have played those in a slightly different order to gain a little bit of life, but I don't think our opponent is going for our life total here. Gotta get rid of their Jace because that can mill way too much. If opponent sweeps the board, we can find 2 creatures with our Kayla's Reconstruction, which is not terrible. Parisian Mindbreaker. That is a bit problematic, but I think we're just going to go ahead, dig 3 cards deep. Get a Shadow-Rite Priest, a Shadow-Rite Priest, and a Inspiring Overseer. That makes everything quite massive. And then we can go ahead, swing in here, swing in here, swing in here. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll hold the Shadow-Rite Priest back. Because they're lords, we don't want them to die. And then we can end the game next turn if our opponent doesn't sweeper. They can still, like, mill 15 of our cards, so if they have... Wait, they didn't go for graveyards. They didn't go for graveyards, okay. Our Chaplain of Alms, you can go down. We can get back one of our lords here. Oh wait, no, they exiled the creatures off the battlefield. They didn't go to our graveyard. We lost 3 of our lords. That's not good. There's no reason to block here. Though this does allow us to potentially return that last lord if they milled it. They did mill the last lord, the Shadow-Rite Priest here. Nope, that's gonna do it. They got Xaxes. Alright. Man, they gained like so much life during the course of that game. It was ridiculous. I can't wait until Farewell rotates though. That card is miserable. I mean, to be fair, we kind of played into a sweeper. We should have held up the Kayla's Reconstruction, but I don't know if it really would have made a difference there. We would have had to kill them the following turn anyways. We didn't have enough low to the ground drops. I don't know. They had a good hand. They had a good hand and their deck wasn't bad. I'm gonna go with that. We'll probably play out another Lunarch Veteran, a Scoured Barons, and then next turn we can play Anointed Peacekeeper to see what our opponent's got in hand. We want to stop any sweepers if we can, and then we can get in with like the Shadow-Rite Priest and everything. Show us what you have, opponent. Oh, okay. We can just name Grixis Obliterator, I think. Well, it's kind of annoying that you can't like click on it, or maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Grixis Obliterator. You're not gonna be casting that, hopefully. Could now cost them 6 mana to cast. And then we can play out Shadow-Rite Priest. Or actually we can play Inspiring Overseer and then Shadow-Rite Priest, maybe? No, we want to play out Shadow-Rite Priest first. So we can get to the Peacekeeper attacking in. Oh, they get +1 there. Forgot that they would be able to do that. We still get the Obliterator off the table for right now, which is good. We can potentially get our Atraxa with this Shadow-Rite Priest if it gets... Okay, Atraxa, you're not supposed to go to hand. You're supposed to like... You're supposed to do things in my library. Because I can't put it onto the battlefield from my my hand. That's a little bit spooky, but I think we'll be okay. We're not going to block here, I don't think. Okay, double Shadow-Rite Priest is interesting. I think the plan is we want to get this Death Touch so we can block with it if we want. That's going to take 3 mana, so we can only play a Shadow-Rite Priest here, unfortunately. So Shadow-Rite Priest is going to buff this up, so we're still going to have to sacrifice a lot if we ever want to block. Alright, well, in that case, let's just play out this other Shadow-Rite Priest. And we'll just try and finish them off through the sky. Should be able to double block the Flesh Gorger. They won't be able to remove both Shadow-Rite Priests, hopefully. So we'll go ahead, sacrifice a Veteran. They draw 2, so they can potentially draw into a fight spell. They're live to a fight spell to ruining our game. We're gonna go ahead and no blocks here. Go ahead, sacrifice Lunarch Veteran to go ahead and get ourselves the other Atraxa in our library. Boom. That draws us a Kayla's Reconstruction. Our opponent just scoops it up. What the heck? If you ever fight spelled us, we would have had a tough time, and then you would have... Okay. Opponent did not want to play it out. Fair enough. Fair enough. Surprise Atraxa. Why is Atraxa so good? Well, I know why it's so good. It's just silly that it's like... it's just so ridiculously good. It's given us wins when we played it with ninjas. It's given us wins when we did a little bit like janky but kind of fun hasty reanimator thing. It's working here in the whole cleric tribal. All right, what the heck? I know we had Atraxa in our hand, but chill, opponent. We can't even use Atraxa in our hand. It would be wise if we had like some sort of like discard or something, or like just some way to fix our mana just a bit. I didn't want to like put in a bunch of other colored lands though, just in case it would cause us problems. But you probably could like work the mana base in some pain lands. Like all of our basics just swap out for dual lands of the other colors. This hand's okay. Really slow, but it's okay if our opponent's not super fast. Uh, yeah, let's just hope our opponent's not super fast. Though our opponent's going first, so we might roll into like a 1 or 2 drop, which would be nice. Another tap land, that's a game land, is not the worst. Could have been worse. I like the idea of holding off playing our Shadow-Rite Priest here because we have another tap land, and our opponent's going to try and remove things that we play, most likely. So waiting a turn is good. Opponent is playing a Sacrifice, presumably. That's the main reason people play Jadar, or they're playing zombies. That looks like a Sacrifice type deck. This means they'll get to draw an extra card each of their turns. If they ever remove one of our creatures, they will also draw cards. At Blast Zone is problematic. Drawing into Atraxa is bad. Takenuma, Invoke Despair. Alright, I'm not a huge fan of Invoke Despair. I know it's a while out. Or maybe Vran would be better. I mean, I don't think this Anointed Peacekeeper is gonna stay alive. No, let's go Invoke Despair. We can actually pick up their Jadar here with our Annex Sentry, which is good. We definitely want to consider getting our Shadow-Rite Priest out, like this turn or next turn, because our opponent will, when you draw your second card each turn. Okay, that works well with Morbid Opportunist. So I think we're going to get rid of Jadar, probably, with our Annex Sentry here. Yep, we're going to block it. Opponent. It's a 3-drop, okay. Morbid Opportunist is a pretty good card. Pretty good card in this sort of deck. Drawing extra cards each turn is nice. Our opponent's still getting taxed on their Invoke Despair, which is nice. Wonder if they have braids. This is braid card sleeves, so braids works well in a sacrifice deck. It is interesting seeing mono black sacrifice, because I feel like I usually see like Mardu sacrifice. What are we taking? Maybe we take Morbid Opportunist. Yeah, let's go with Morbid Opportunist. I know the other ones synergize well with everything else, but... Oh, wait, if we played Shadow-Rite Priest here, we would have been able to get a, we can play, like, Anointed Peacekeeper and Shadow-Rite Priest next turn, and then the following turn we get our Atraxa. Yeah, because they get Jadar here, which still enables their Vran and everything, which is a little bit annoying. Oh, Gix works well with Gurgling Anointer. It's a really cool deck. It's a well put together mono black sacrifice deck. Kind of want to try it myself. Though I do think like if you're playing a sacrifice deck, putting in Ob Nixilis can improve your deck a bunch, just because then you have like this double Planeswalker that can give you a bit better chances against more like control style decks, because you eat away at the opponent's hand while also pinging them. Opponents, are you going to take the life and the draw? Opponent can't play Invoke Despair their next turn unless they kill this Anointed Peacekeeper. Though it doesn't look like they're playing a ton of removal here. They're just going for out value, which I think is respectable. Go ahead. I think we're gonna Anointed Peacekeeper. See what's up. We can double tag their Invoke. I mean, I could just tag their Takenuma. Oh, I guess yeah, we could have scrolled here. The last time we went to name. And then no blocks. We're going to most likely sacrifice the Anointed Peacekeeper that's on Takenuma here with the Shadow-Rite Priest. Unless we draw into like a cheap or a cleric that we can sacrifice. A 1-drop, that is. It was a nice deck. We are dying here, but we will get Atraxa, which should be pretty good. The one card we needed to not draw into to get Atraxa. Nice. Nice. We can get rid of their Gix. We could get rid of their... Like, we could sacrifice something to search up an Annex entry. That is an option. We could also just play a Shadow-Rite Priest and cry. We really needed to not draw that. That hampered is basically everything we could have done here. I might, though, go ahead and just do this anyways. Sacrifice this. This is the one that says Takenuma. Go ahead, find ourselves instead. Wait, this is a black creature. That's awkward. I don't actually have a Annex entry that is black. Oh no. Oh no, oh no. We're taking 7 damage this turn. They cast Invoke Despair. We are dead. Alright. Yeah, that was a bad draw. Are there any cards in white that you can shuffle back things in your hand? Don't think so. Do not think so. Ooh, that's an interesting interaction. There's like, you could also cheat out like Croxa and Kunaros in the next set. That could also reanimate something. That would be an interesting chain with a... Because you can sacrifice something and then immediately reanimate it, maybe. Atraxa in hand is bad, as always, but maybe our opponent will just go into our hand and make us discard it. Opponents might just bounce this. They do not bounce it. Okay, we'll go ahead and play this out. Ouchies. Gain a little life back. Consider... it's another mono blue deck, so this will be interesting. Does this deck just end up against mono blue more, or like is mono blue back in fashion? I'm not really wanting to play this Shadow-Rite Priest out here because our opponent's just gonna counter it. You don't have 2 mana up for no reason. So it's a good thing that we have Evolved Sleeper here, because Evolved Sleeper is really good into counter spells. It's one in Fading Hope down, which is good. But are they really going to be able to counter Evolved Sleeper, is the question. Like a 1 mana, so if they have like Make Disappear, it's not going to work. Evolved Sleeper. Dissipate. Wow. Alright. Well, they tapped out for that, so now we can get this down, which is good. Means if we draw a land next turn, we can get an Atraxa, which is huge. An untapped land, we get Atraxa. Yeah, that's not an untapped land, but still. Go ahead, take it. Chaplain of Alms. Go play this. This is probably gonna get countered. Double Dissipate in hand. Shocking. Wouldn't have expected that. We need an untapped land, and then we can sack this Chaplain of Alms. Still no untapped land. Alright. You're gonna Make Disappear? They might not be running Make Disappear, considering their hand. Do you think they're running any flash creatures? Nah. None that should hopefully trade. Bounce Spell? Memory Deluge. If they kill our creatures, which they're not going to because they're in blue, unless they have creatures to block with, they're going to lose a life to this Lasso Core. Alright, a land off the top, please. An untapped land off the top. I want to see my opponent's face when Atraxa appears. Also, the Shadow-Rite Priest... Our Shadow-Rite Priest ability is uncounterable. Well, it's not uncounterable, it's not the same as playing out a spell. It's an ability. Alright, we'll go ahead and play this. Opponent, do you have a counter spell? Wonder what they're ramping to is my question. A bounce spell. Bounce spell on the Shadow-Rite Priest saves them. Don't know if they noticed that. But hey, counter 2 spells and then do nothing. I guess that works. We're running into the strangest decks today. Like this is not normal. This is the secret superpower of Clerics, is just you get put up against random decks. Very random decks? No, I doubt. I think we're just we're getting lucky. Tap land first turn, untap land second turn, not bad. And then Missionary. Rakdos is concerning, because that's very powerful. Okay. Grixis, I feel like I should be more concerned now. Feels bad throwing down a Takenuma, but I guess I could have played the tap land and then saved the Phyrexian Missionary for when, yeah, when we want to recur a creature. That might have been smarter. Well, we get Anointed Peacekeeper down this next turn, which is good. Ay, caramba. This is gross. This card makes me sad every time I see it. Just so good value. Nice. Alright. Shieldred. Stay in the hand, please. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Alright, we can play this down, we can play this. I mean, actually what we can do is we can get this and just take their Corpse Appraiser here so they don't have a blocker and start getting in. Anic Sentry does die to cut down. I did not realize that until now, so I kind of trolled myself. That was I processed that as soon as I was thinking about the whole attacking part of this turn. That's unfortunate. Alright. Do we want to bet on whether or not they have another cut down? The thing is, we can't get anything back from our graveyard with this damn Corpse Appraiser running around. Nope, no attacking with this. They can get their Shieldred down next turn. So maybe there was a point to playing down Anointed Peacekeeper. They don't go for the Shieldred, so we can actually double tax the Shieldred if we want. If they invoke Despair, so we can just sacrifice the Lunarch Veteran. And then cast it from our graveyard. Get in there. It's all yours. Alright, let's tax the Shieldred because I really don't want to see it. Negate. Invoke Despair. Okay, Invoke Despair I think we might instead go for. Actually, honestly I'm thinking about just double taxing the Shieldred. Maybe it's kind of stupid, but I mean, if we tax Invoke Despair, they play Shieldred next turn, which is still good. If we don't tax the Invoke Despair, they play Invoke Despair, which is okay. So we can just sacrifice the Lunarch Veteran. I think Shieldred is honestly more of a problem. That is the funny thing. Don't really want to attack in here because of we got a 3/3 blocker. This card is ridiculous. Anticipate on a 3/3. Oh my goodness, they took so much painland damage. Great. If we can find a Phyrexian, or sorry, a Cleric Lord, we're in a decent spot. What do we want to do here? I mean, we could kick her back the Lunarch Veteran and play it. We could take their Bankbuster. They're gonna tap it once anyways, but we kind of end up resetting it for them in that case. We're not in a great spot. These Corpse Appraisers have done a good job of keeping their hand full and just completely stonewalling us. It's aggravating. Opponent will be able to play Shieldred next turn, potentially off of a land drop. Uh, Gosh, this Grixis deck is disgusting. It is disgusting. Gotta play this out. Again, we can't attack in because these damn Corpse Appraisers being 3/3s. It's annoying. Opponent's looking at a full grip of cards. Gain a life. Which is nice because Shieldred, they can go ahead, Corpse Appraiser. Luminous Veteran. Get to draw two. Doing a good job of sort of holding our opponent at bay here. We can actually get this card back since our opponent didn't Corpse Appraiser it, which is probably worth. And then we play out Chaplain of Alms. Give us more sack fodder for whatever they choose to. We do want to evolve this Evolved Sleeper soon, but we kind of need enough mana to do that. Or disposable mana to do that. We kind of wanted to get this card back as soon as possible to stop our opponent from drawing off of their Corpse Appraiser. Opponent mostly taps out for their Shieldred. Is good for us. Get to draw and lose 2 life because of Shieldred. Very nice. Go ahead and play this. Take a peek at their hand again. Take a peek at their hand again. Are you going to, what is the card called? Make disappear? Okay, come on. Resolve, decline. Decline. And then, I guess we'll do this. I mean, we can't even attack in. Shadow-Rite Priest, that's a good draw, but we take like so much damage off of that. Phyrexian Missionary, though, is good because it means we can gain a bit of life here if our opponent chooses to attack in to try and pressure us. Opponent can draw a good card off of their, or pseudo draw off of their Corpse Appraiser. Technically it says put into their hand. Oy. I mean, to be fair, we're putting up a decent fight against Grixis. I mean, when you look at our hand, it doesn't look that way because we're just like so many cards behind every single time. But besides that, it's going alright. Go ahead and play this out. And cross our fingers and hope to die. I mean, hope to fly. Can we survive a turn? Do you have Invoke Despair? They probably have Invoke Despair and we just lose. We'll have to block down with a bunch of creatures. Fable the Mirror Breaker, that's okay. That is okay. Right now. We just need to survive like 2 turns, sort of. Need no Invoke Despair this turn or next turn, I think is honestly how this game goes, which is very upsetting. Opponent doesn't want to attack in. Understandable. Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and lose 2 life. Next. Oh crap, I didn't want to do that. No attacks. Sacrifice the cheap one to go ahead and grab Atraxa. I don't think this will be enough. I think we're going to die this turn. Gain land as well, just for like as much life gain as possible. 5 health, that does make a difference. 1 extra health could potentially be the difference between life and death here. Death here. On our upkeep, we can potentially sacrificing something to Shadow-Rite Priest to gain life, which might be relevant. I don't think it will be. I think we're probably just dead here. Opponent has Invoked Despair, they win. They pretty much win if they have Invoked Despair. Kayla's Reconstruction, though, on our turn would be pretty huge, but they do just have the negate to counter it. So, yeah. If all Sleeper blocking their Shieldred, but they play like another one, is an option. We could block with the Atraxa to try and see if we can live, or like to gain life. But then we can't swing in with Atraxa next turn, which is less good. So we'll just trade the Evolved Sleeper. I guess we could have blocked with the Lasso Core, but I'm trying to preserve as much health as possible. Please tap out. They did not tap out. Okay, draw. That is a very good card to draw. We'll go to our main. Play this. If I play this, do I have 5 mana left? I don't have 5 mana left. They surrender? Is Atraxa that intimidating? What the heck? Do you have no removal? No targeted removal? you gotta have like a go for the throat that you could have kept searching for. Opponent, people are just afraid of Atraxa, I think, is the bottom line. Because we play Lunarch Veteran. We could play. I guess we could have played out like some creatures or played like this would have gotten countered though with their negate. But what we could have done is we could have sacrificed like this Peacekeeper to Shadow-Rite Priest, tutoring up another Shadow-Rite Priest. It would have gained us 2 life. We would have attacked in with the Atraxa, gaining 7 life. That would have put us up to like 11 life, which would have put us in a decent spot. And then we could try and keep going. But we had an Atraxa in hand. We honestly, you probably could throw in like 1 or 2 reanimation spells for Atraxa, and this deck would be better. Or like just a way to discard it as well, because if you draw it into your hand, you don't have anything you can do about it. All right, we'll play one more game. One more game of Angelic Surprise Clerics. All right. Chaplain and Alms on turn 1, not bad. Caves of Koilos for Evolved Sleeper could be good, but our opponent might be holding up removal here. This has Ward 1, which is funny because I think it stopped them from casting their cut down. Okay, that's a bad draw. Maybe we could do like Obs on Clerics. I guess we could have waited until after the attack phase before playing our Evolved Sleeper, but I kind of want to play the Evolved Sleeper and try and level it up far enough to the point where it's out of cut down range. I don't know if that's possible here. Opponent's playing more Grixis. So we go from like janky mono blue to great Grixis. Can't block that. I mean, our opponent can cut this down if they want, but don't think they will. Don't have much reason to. Alright. Well, I guess we could have played Chaplain of Alms if I didn't do that. That's fine. Opponent is going to ramp like a mad lad. I completely screwed that up. I want to concede. I just wanted to do that, and I definitely, ugh, I screwed that up. I should have just waited. Kayla's Reconstruction means we can search for 2 creatures. So we can search for a Shadow-Rite Priest and a Cleric, and then the following turn we can try and to sneak in an Atraxa, which might be enough to get us back into this game. But I'm suspecting we're just dead. Like they have the entire like Shadow-Rite Priest, please. Negate. Man, I want out. I want out. I feel like I'd be doing a disservice. Nope, actually, I take that back. This game's far from like ever winnable. I can't wait until rotation. I can't wait. Seeing that same deck for the past like 3 months, whew, has made me go a bit insane. All right, well let's talk about the deck. We'll go through the deck real quick. We're playing Angelic Surprise, which is basically just Clerics, a take on Clerics, and then using Shadow-Rite Priest which says sacrifice another cleric, search your library for a black creature, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. So we're sneaking in Atraxa that way. And then, yeah, the rest of this is we're just playing clerics. So going through the cards, Chaplain of Alms. This one's a nice one because we can sack it to like Shadow-Rite Priest and then replay it on its flip side. It's a 1/1 with first strike and ward 1, so it's got like just good stats as a 1/1 cleric or 1 mana 1/1 cleric. Like you pump this up and then it becomes a 2/2 first striker, it becomes a 3/3 first striker, like it gets good. Um, and then the backside is also good because then it gives all your creatures ward and it's a flyer and it's still a cleric, so you can still get like cleric damage in the air, which is awesome. Lunarch Veteran, we're playing a bunch of these because gaining life is good. And then it flips over into another creature that's cheap and we can play it and it's a flyer and it's a cleric. Vault Sleeper, this one's good against like those control matchups. You pump stuff into it. You play it out like turn one and then you pump stuff into it while they're trying to counterspell everything else. Doesn't really work well or that well in current meta though because the current meta is less like control in the sense that um, it's removal, a ton of removal too. But if you're playing this against mono blue, it can destroy mono blue. Phyrexian Missionary, this card is a great Phyrexian cleric. Um, the ability to like get something back is very nice because it's good in the early game, it's good in the late game, it's good against mono red because it's got lifelink, it's got 3 toughness, which makes it hard to kill. It's a decent blocker. And yeah, Shadow-Rite Priest, this is like half the deck. It's a great card for clerics because we play out all these 1-drops and then we pump them all up and we swing in for fast damage. So sometimes your games will go that way. Other times you get to activate this and you get Atraxa out there and your opponent concedes, apparently. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like you could play like Toxrill instead. Let's see. I think if we do this, we should be able to get I guess I should click creature. You'll be able to see some like the creature cards you can sneak out. So you can sneak out like a Dusk Mangler, but that's less relevant. You can sneak out Dreadfast Demon, which means you can start sacrificing your other clerics to turn them into these 6/6 demons, which is cool. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, create a token copy, or create a token that's a copy of Dreadfast Demon. You can sneak out. Actually, Phyrexian Flesh Quarter isn't black. That is something we learned in our ninjas deck. Is Phyrexian Flesh Quarter isn't a black card. It's actually colorless. Toxrill, though, you can sneak this out. You can also sneak out Olivia Crimson Bride, so maybe you put one Olivia in here and one Atraxa or something. I don't know. That seems there's something to be said about we need some kind of backup plan if we draw the card. But yeah, I guess you could also sneak out um, like Xander here, which would be fun, or Ziatora. But Xander has like a nice ETB, makes the opponent discard things. If it dies, the opponent sacrifices half of their permanents. If it gets to attacking, the opponent mills half of their library rounded down, which is also a lot of fun. So there's a lot of things you can do in this sort of like shell. But yeah, that's Shadow-Rite Priest. Elasto Core, it's just basically Luminarch Veteran, but it also has like death trigger. So whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, which is cool. Annex Sentry, this is a new cleric from Phyrexian will be 1. We didn't actually really see it do anything good in our games. I feel like our opponents just removed it, or they had like higher cost creatures like Shieldred. So maybe I was a little bit too excited for this card in this deck. I don't know. I think it still stands as like a good card against like mono red. So if you run into mono red with this Annex Sentry, you can start like dunking on them because 4 toughness means it dodges lightning strike. So the opponent has to dump a bunch into it, and it's a really good blocker, and you get to remove one of the creatures. So like this is really good against mono red, but less good against Rakdos and Grixis. Anointed Peacekeeper. This is another one that I got another copy of it between like the last Clerics video we did and this one, and honestly, I don't know if this one was that good to play out. I feel like, yeah, you get to see your opponent's hand so you can try and play around it, and you get to tax it, but the fact that like you could lose the tax if this one dies is unfortunate, but it is a 3/3 with vigilance, so dodge is cut down. And then if you get to pump this up with Shadow-Rite Priest, it's really nice. So I don't know if the games that we played were terribly conclusive to how well this card performs. Inspiring Overseer, this card's great. Great in Clerics. Flyers are just perform really well in the current meta. So this is a flyer that draws you cards, so it replaces itself. It gives you gas in this deck, which is really nice. And then if you pump it up with like Shadow-Rite Priest, it becomes a 3/2 flyer. So it becomes like starts to get like to be a serious clock among your other creatures. So do love that. Kayla's Reconstruction, I also do love this card. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put up to X artifact and or creature cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I think we only resolved this like once during this video, but it's very nice for this deck because then we can like get 2 Shadow-Rite Priests, uh, like pick up an Annex entry if we need to remove a blocker. Like you get to look at the top 7 cards and then pick among those like the creatures you want. So I think it works well in these sort of like tribal decks where you can like pick up a bunch of lords and just explosively rebuild. So yeah, I really do like this card for this kind of deck. And then Atraxa. Atraxa performed a lot better because we have an artifact, we have a sorcery, and like creatures, and then lands. So it performed a lot better than I anticipated because we were able to draw 4 cards with it. So yeah, and then it's still just a really big body, which is nice. So I think this card actually is actually still good in this deck. I thought it was going to be problematic because if you look at our deck, it's like all creatures, a sorcery, and and some lands. So like we would have maybe been able to draw 3, but we're actually able to draw 4 with like this Annex entry, which did enhance things a little bit. So yeah, and sorry, I'm yawning. But yeah, and then it's still just a really good body. So turned out a lot better than I thought. But I do think there's room for improvement. Like we do have these basics here that we could swap out for dual lands of like blue and green. So maybe we can, or like swap out for like, okay, half of these are white blue and half of these are green white. Or sorry, yeah, white blue and green white, and then half of these are black green and half of these are blue black. If we did something like that, I think we would actually be able to cast Atraxa occasionally, which would be nice, but we need to make sure that we have enough white pips. Or like I didn't do that initially because I was worried how the land base would turn out, but I should have just gone for it, you know. YOLO, you only live once. But yeah, it's important to note that like the land base is we're trying to play a bunch of white black duels so that we can actually cast Kayla's Reconstruction consistently. And we're playing a bunch of cheap creatures, so we need to make sure that we have like untap lands, but we did get from Phyrexia All Will Be One some nice rare lands. Uh, like we could put 2 Darkslick Shores, and then I thought we got more. Oh, this is restricting the colors. Yeah, so you could put in like 3 Seacomb Coasts, uh, and then like 3 Razorbridge Thickets or something, and then put in 2 Darklick Shores, and then uh, there is no blue-green lands here, but you could put in 2 like Yavimaya Coasts. So I think it's possible to make this better. You would be out of basic, or you would have no basics then, but then you might be able to cast Atraxa, which would be relevant because we had Atraxa in our hand some of those games, which may have been enough to flip the board. I don't know if we had enough mana to cast it though. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps out a ton. And have a nice day. Have a nice morning, evening, night, wherever and whenever you're watching. Ciao.